Krishna. So today we are reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, chapter 1, the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, starting with the verse number 57. Haridasa Thakurara Rupa Sanatan. Haridasa Thakurara Rupa Sanatan. Jagannatha Mandirinaya Natinajan. Jagannatha Mandirinaya Natinajan. Haridasa Thakurara Rupa Sanatan. Jagannath Mandirinaya Natinajan. Haridasa Thakurara Rupa Sanatan. Jagannatha Mandirena Ayanatinajan. Read from the beginning. Verse number 57. Hey Bhavindritya Madhe Pade Eka Shlok Sei Shlokera Artha Keha Nahi Bhujalok. In that ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited a verse when dancing in front of Lord Jagannatha. Almost no one could understand the meaning of that verse. Yah Kumara Harach Saeva Hivaras Taeva Chaitrakshapas Te Chon Militamalati Surabhya Praudha Kadamba Nilai Sa Chaivasmi Tathapi Tatra Surata Vyapara Lila Vidho Reva Rodasi Vedasi Tarutale Chetach Samutkantate. Translation. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit lights of the months of Chaitra, the same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva river under the Vedasi tree. That is my desire. Purport. This verse appears in Madhya-lila, an anthology of verses compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. Eishlokera artha jani ekali swarup Daivi se vatsaratahan gyahena rup. This verse appears to be the hankering between some ordinary boy and girl, but its actual deep meaning was known only to Swarupa Damodar. By chance, one year Rupa Goswami was also present there. Prabhumukhi Loka Shuni Shri Rupa Goshai Seislakera Artha Shloka Korilatathai. Although the meaning of the verse was known only to Swarupa Damodar, Rupa Goswami, after hearing it from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, immediately composed another verse that described the meaning of the original verse. Shloka kore eka tal patreti likhaya apanam vasara chale rakila gunjaya. After composing this verse, Rupa Goswami wrote it on a palm leaf and put it on the roof of the thatched house in which he was living. Shloka raki gela samudra snan korite hena kali aila prabhu tanhari milite. After composing this verse and putting it on the roof of his house, Srila Rupa Goswami went to bathe in the sea. In the meantime, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to his hut to meet with him. Haridas Thakurara Rupa Sanatan Jagannatha Mandirinaya Natinajan. To avoid turmoil, three great personalities, Haridas Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami, did not enter the temple of Jagannatha, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vijnana Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is still the practice at the Jagannath temple not to allow those to enter who do not strictly follow the Vedic culture known as Hinduism. Srila Haridasa Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami had previous intimate connections with Muslims. Haridas Thakur had been born in a Muslim family, and Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami, having given up their social status in Hindu society, had been appointed ministers in the Muslim government. They had even changed their names to Dabira Khas and Sakara Malik. Thus, they had supposedly been expelled from Brahmana society. Consequently, out of humility, they did not enter the temple of Jagannath, although the personality of Godhead, Jagannatha, in his form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, personally came to see them every day. Similarly, the members of this Krishna-conscious society are sometimes refused entrance into some of the temples in India. We should not feel sorry about this as long as we engage in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Krishna himself associates with devotees who are chanting his holy name, and there is no need to be unhappy over not being able to enter a certain temple. Such dogmatic prohibitions were not approved by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those who were thought unfit to enter the Jagannath temple were daily visited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this indicates that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not approve the prohibitions. To avoid unnecessary turmoil, however, these great personalities would not enter the Jagannath temple. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Ajanalambit Bhujokana Kavadata Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksha Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Pala Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavatara Antah Pravishimam Vachimam Prasuddham Sanjeevaya Dekila Shakti Daraksvadhamna Anyam Shahasta Charana Shravana Tvagadi Pranannamo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhya. Hare Krishna. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, before describing in details the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in his sannyas ashram in Madhya-lila, he gives the brief description of this whole Madhya-lila. And very amazingly, he starts this description briefly mentioning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas and coming to Jagannath Puri. He starts speaking about Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and Jiva Goswami. He mentioned Nityananda Prabhu, who was preaching, and then immediately starts describing the glories of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami in the very beginning of this chapter. And then he comes to the description of Rathayatra. He says for 20 years being in Jagannath Puri every year, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would take part in Rath Yatra of Lord Jagannath together with all the other devotees who were coming to see him from Bengal. And this is the description, and these two events, the description of Rupa Goswami and Rath Yatra, they meet in this pastime which Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami deems to describe the first in this chapter. So we have to ask why. Why all of a sudden his thought process is bringing us to this particular pastime, which he thinks the most necessary or most important to understand the whole Madhya-lila. And of course, in the next chapter, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will go even further, and he will start describing the Antya-lila in the beginning of Madhya-lila, because he's in a hurry. He wants to say something most important. So what is most important he wants to convey to us? Basically, what he wants to convey to us is that Lord Chaitanya came for two reasons, and he described this elaborately in Adi-lila of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. But now Madhya-lila starts where this is happening. So the two reasons of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming to this world is, first is to prema rasa niryas korita svadan, to taste the amazing emotional taste of love, prema rasa niryas, to the highest extent. Not just love. Everyone has some love. You know. Everyone loves some cats and dogs and, you know, some flowers or whatever. Some attachment everyone has. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world not to experience love of cat or dog. He came to experience the highest love of Srimati Radharani in this world. And therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Prema rasa niryas korita svadan. That's the first and the foremost reason. The main reason for himself to experience this love, to get this taste, which he couldn't experience previously. As Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, Krishna felt cheated. After displaying all these wonderful pastimes in Vrindavan and, you know, engaging in love, he somehow or other he got the second thought, and he thought, something is wrong going on. I'm not getting as much bliss and ecstasy as all these devotees who are playing with me. They get more. So he wanted to make up for it. And therefore he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But then also his second reason was not less important. Raga Margi Bhakti Loki Korite Pracharan. His second reason to come here was to spread this particular form of love. Because again, you know, everyone says God is love, and, you know, it's nothing special in it. There is nothing special in loving God. You know, everyone not only loves cats, but also sometimes love God. That's how it goes. You know, on Sunday you go to church, you pray to God, and you get some feelings is there, and then you go home and you love your cat. No problem. But what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give is this Raga Marg, Bhakti Loki Karite Pracharan. He came to give this overwhelming love. When there is no place in your heart left for loving anyone else. Or in reality, you love everyone. because you love God. It's such an overwhelming feeling when your heart blossoms completely. And in this condition, when your heart is completely blossomed, when it's fully blossomed, you love everyone, you love the whole world. But your primary object of love is God, is Krishna. So, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is starting this Madhya-lila from describing these pastimes? Because first of all, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, especially during Rathayatra pastime, is experiencing this love to the highest possible extent. And then, of course, why Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami starts this description from Rupa Goswami, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, even though that's the reason of his appearance in this world, to preach Bhakti Marga, but he himself hardly preached this. He engaged others to preach this. And therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami first mentions Nityananda Prabhu, and then Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So, in these two events, he is describing both most important reasons of Lord Chaitanya's appearance in this world. First, he describes his Rathayatra pastime, and then he describes how these feelings of Lord Chaitanya were reflected in the heart of Rupa Goswami. And how, because they were reflected in the heart of Rupa Goswami, all these emotions which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was experiencing, how they were reflected in the heart of Rupa Goswami, how Rupa Goswami gave us the chance to reflect the same emotions. And in this way, the goal or the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was fulfilled, because he did want to share these feelings with us. And if it was only for him to experience it, we would never be able to understand what he is experiencing. And even during the Lord Chaitanya's time, people were watching it from a distance and they couldn't understand what's going on. It is described in Chaitanya Bhagavata when Maharaja Prataparudra for the first time saw the display of Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy. He was confused. He was embarrassed almost. He couldn't relate to it. It was too unusual. And Lord Chaitanya was crying and dancing and rolling on the floor in front of Lord Jagannatha. Maharaja Prataparudra felt uneasy. He couldn't understand what's going on. Only later he could appreciate it. And so many people were witnesses of the display of Lord Chaitanya's emotions, but hardly anyone could understand this. It's very clearly said, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said, Lord Chaitanya was reciting this shloka. Nobody could understand why he is reciting this strange shloka. This shloka is from Kavya Prakash, from some mundane Alankar Shastra. And moreover, in this mundane Alankar Shastra, this shloka is an illustration of Rasabhas, which is most paradoxically, because in this shloka, Yah Kumara Hara Saeva Hi Varas Taeva Chaitra Kshapas. In this shloka, one lady is telling to her friend, Yah Kumara Hara, during my youth, my innocence was stolen, Hara, by my husband. Later he became my husband. But initially the relationship started in not a very commendable way, not a very proper way. It was some sort of illicit relationship. So, and therefore this shloka is an illustration of Rasabhas, because poetry is not supposed to promote something which is against Dharma. If poetry is expressing some illegal or illicit feelings, some of course nowadays it's very common, this all this mundane literature only glorifying all these adharmic activities. But in Vedic culture, to express openly, I remember how nice it was, and it's not so nice now when he's my husband. I still want to reenact the same experience which was there when I was very young and innocent, and he has forcibly stolen my innocence. That's what she says. And nobody could figure out why, what is going on. It is said that only Swarup Damodar Goswami could relate to it. But Rupa Goswami, in this particular pastime, he reveals to us what is going on, the inner feelings. Why he reveals to us? Because it's the purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent to give access to us, which was not accessible. It was not accessible during Lord Krishna's pastimes. It was not widely accessible. Few people could appreciate it, few people could enter it, but hardly anyone could understand it. Practically, it was closed, the doors were closed. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came, and still, even if it was only for him, yes, he would fulfill his purpose of his advent of enjoying these feelings. But what about us? And of course, we're still not enjoying these feelings. But at least we have a chance because of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami himself says, Anarpita Charichiram, Karunavatirna Kala, Samarpaitam Unartojvala Rasam Svabhakti Shriim. He came to give something which was not given before. And to give means to give. To give means that he made it for us, and he made it accessible for us. And it was Rupa Goswami who actually, on his inspiration, Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. It was Rupa Goswami, on the inspiration of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, revealed it to us and made it accessible for us. Therefore, this pastime is so crucial. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami starts the whole Madhya-lila from this particular pastime to drive this point home to us. This is most important. This is what again and again we should meditate upon, we should think about, and try to also understand this feeling or emulate this feeling. We can even say imitate this feeling in a good way, not in a bad way. Imitate this feeling, which were revealed by Rupa Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing these feelings in Ratha Yatra, very rare feelings, and Rupa Goswami is explaining to us what he is experiencing. Why? To give access, to help us to experience the same. It's very important for us to understand that, sometimes we're very eager to preach. But before preaching, we can only preach something if we have something. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to spread love of God because he had love of God. And we are spreading Krishna consciousness. To spread Krishna consciousness, we have to have Krishna consciousness. You cannot spread something which you don't have. Even though we sometimes try to do it without much success. But the point here is that Lord Chaitanya came to experience this love, and only then to spread this love. And We are here to receive this love from Him, to receive these amazing feelings from Him. And therefore, as I said, how do we receive these feelings from Him? We can only receive these feelings from Him if these feelings become reflected in our heart. As much as they were reflected in the heart of Srila Rupa Goswami. And a little later I will tell what is the secret, how to get this glimpse or reflection of these emotions. Ultimately, to have the access to this emotion means to experience the same emotions. When Rupa Goswami says that Lord Chaitanya came to give, it means that we are supposed to ultimately get the glimpse of the same emotions in our heart. Experience at least something maybe remotely similar to what Lord Chaitanya is experiencing. We will never be able to experience the same. It's not possible even in this material body. The material body is not capable of holding these emotions. But at least some glimpse we are supposed to experience. And the method for this is, of course, to deliberate on these pastimes. Because this is sadhana, this is the definition, this is the dictionary definition of sadhana. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, what is sadhana? Sadhana is kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sa sadhana bhida. Sadhana bhida means dictionary definition of sadhana is that when you kriti sadhya, when you engage your senses with the goal of experiencing bhav. We're not just engaging the senses. Every sadhana has sadhya. Sadhya means goal. We're engaging our senses with a particular goal to experience this bhav. This is the definition of sadhana. And nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam hridi sadhyata. So what will happen during this? What is the process of sadhana? We engage our senses in the process of sadhana, but what is supposed to happen, nitya siddhasya bhavasya, the bhava of nitya siddhas, the emotions of nitya siddhas, prakatyam hridi sadhyata, is supposed to be reflected in our heart. When we chant Hare Krishna, when we hear about these pastimes, when we hear about the pastime of Lord Chaitanya, this is what is supposed to take place. If our heart is transparent enough, if the reflective power of our heart is restored through the process of chanting, Cheta Darpana Marjanam, if the ability to reflect all these emotions is restored, then we will be able to experience the same emotions. Why we are not experiencing it? Only because the dirt is still there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. So the point is that again, but still, how to purify the heart? Again and again, chant Hare Krishna and chant the same verses which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would chant, and do it in humility. Why, in particular, Srila Kaviraj Goswami mentions this, that they will never, Rupa Sanatana and Haridas Thakur would never enter the temple of Lord Jagannath because of this reason, because it is humility which makes our heart transparent. It is humility which purifies our heart. When we are proud, we tend to experience all these mundane emotions, and when the mundane emotions are experienced by us, all these stressful emotions, emotions of grief, emotions of anger, emotions of greed, emotions of pride, emotions of envy, when all these emotions are there in our heart, Krishna will never be reflected in our heart. Krishna will never reveal himself in our heart. It is very clearly said in Padma Puran, Srila Rupa Goswami, he quotes this verse in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Shoka marshadi big bhavai akrantam yasya manasa tasya Katham tasya mukundasya spurti sambhavanam bhavet. It's a very important verse for us to understand. Shoka amarsha adi bhi bhavai. When all these bhavas, starting with shok, which means grief, and amarsha, which means anger, and greed, and envy, and illusion, when all this, and calm, of course, the most important emotion, when all these emotions are there, akrantam yasya manasya. Akrantam means when our mind is attacked by these emotions. We all know this, we all experience this. Sometimes, all these emotions just attack our mind. And we cannot do anything. We're completely overwhelmed by these mundane emotions. Shoka marsha divi bhavai akranta yasya manasyat katham tasya mukundasya spurti sambhavanam bhavet. How, in this case, in this heart, the spurti of Mukunda, of the Supreme Lord, will possible to appear, because the heart is already occupied. There is no place for Krishna there. Of course, we say Krishna is there in the heart of all living entities. There is one exception, that's us. He is not in our heart because there is no place for him there. If he was in the heart, we would remember about him. He is not in the heart because it's no room there. All these emotions. But these emotions is a result of pride. It's ultimately the cause of all these emotions is ahankar, false ego. Because we're so much, self-centered, we experience all these emotions. And we cannot reflect other emotions, elevated emotions which are expressed there. Therefore, the first condition for this is humility. If humility is there, humility means you become less self-centered. You become not so egocentric. Humility means you consciously diminish your false understanding of who you are. As Srila Radhanath Maharaj says, humility doesn't mean to think less about yourself. Humility means to think less about yourself. Means you're not thinking about yourself smaller than you are, because it's impossible to think about us smaller than we are, because we are smaller than the smallest. We are very small. So the humility doesn't mean artificially thinking we are small, because we are anyway small. Humility means we think less about ourselves. We're not so much concerned about ourselves. That's humility. And that's exactly what is being explained by Srila Prabhupada here. Srila Prabhupada is explaining here that these three persons, Haridas Thakur, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, were so humble that they didn't think themselves deserving to enter Jagannath Mandir. Very often we visit sometimes Jagannath Puri, and Western devotees says all this they condemn all these smarta Brahmins of Jagannath Mandir who doesn't allow us to enter Jagannath temple. Rupa Goswami didn't do it. Sanatana Goswami didn't do it. He didn't come to Jagannath temple. He was not, I'm a pure devotee, let me enter the temple. No, I'm nobody. Who we think we are? We're nobody. And if this understanding enters into our heart, that's the preliminary, that's actually how other emotions can enter into our heart. Because when the humility enters into our heart, all these negative emotions, material emotions, are driven away. When the humility is there, the humility is more or less pushes away these bad emotions. And you will be able to empathize. What is being described here, and it's actually the method of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this reflection of emotion, this process of reflecting emotions, it is called Sadharanikaran. Sadharanikaran in Natya Shastra, in the commentaries of Natya Shastra of Bharata Muni by Abhinava Gupta. He introduces this understanding, Sadharanikaran, the process of reflecting the same emotions as the hero and the stage is displaying. But he also explains that this reflection is only possible when the heart is pure. He explains the concept of Sahridaya. Sahridaya is basically the viewer or spectator who has heart. Literally, Sahridaya means somebody who has heart. It's a very interesting concept because, we think we have heart, and sometimes we make sure we do this angiography and it shows the heart is there. But according to the authors of Drama Natya Shastra, only those who have heart who is capable of reflecting emotions of others in their heart. If the heart is not capable of reflecting others' emotions, it's as if you don't have heart. When we come to somebody else and we cannot really feel what he is feeling, it means we don't have heart. It means it's the same. It's the same. So when the heart becomes clear, when the heart becomes clean, it means that the heart comes back to us. It means that the ability to feel what others feel is coming back to us. And when this ability is coming back, then we will be able ultimately to reflect all these feelings which Lord Chaitanya came to give to us. Then all these feelings will come to us. But what is the preliminary condition for this? Preliminary condition for this is humility. Not to think always about ourselves. How I am feeling, what I am feeling. Is it good for me or not? It's always, that's the script which we have in our mind. How I'm feeling. Oh, this is not good. This is not according to my liking. This is what stress means. We always compare the environment with the ideal situation which we have in our mind, and because environment is always different from the ideal situation which is there in our mind, we are always in stress. Something is wrong. I'm God. Don't you know this? The world is supposed to, dance around my desires. It doesn't do it. Something is wrong here. Something is wrong. This is what pride means. This is what false ego means. And you will never be able to experience love if you have this. So this particular pastime is explaining this. Rupa Goswami was able to feel what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt during Ratha Yatra only because he was humble. Krishnadas Kaviraj very briefly describes this. Still, he is describing this. This particular point that Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur and Sanatana Goswami were so humble they didn't go to Lord Jagannatha, and therefore Lord Jagannatha in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself would come to see them. So it means that if you are humble, Krishna will make sure that you experience this. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to demand, you don't have to, beat your fist and say, I deserve it. No, just be humble. Krishna will make sure that you will get whatever you need. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunichinatarapi Sohishnu Namani Namanadana Kirtaniya Sadari. We should chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In this state of mind, because when this state of mind is there, the flood of other emotions will overwhelm our heart. All these amazing emotions which are described in this and other verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting again and again, they will reveal to us the emotions which are contained in these verses. Now we read these verses and very nice, very nice, very nice. Nothing is changing in our heart. We remain completely aloof from this. The purpose for which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come is not happening. He came to give it to us. We are not ready to take. Why we are not ready to take? The secret is revealed here because we don't want to give up our false ego. Like yesterday, Prabhu asked this question, Chandramauli Maharaj, he asked this question. It seems like that other offenses we can somehow rather deal with, but what to do with the 10th offense? How we can, deal with the 10th offense? But actually, it's not so difficult to deal with the 10th offense, because 10th offense basically means that you maintain your false ego, false identity. Because all attachments is only the consequence of our false identity. If we consciously try to dismantle our false identity, identification with the mind and with the body, at least on the theoretical level. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he always was stressing this point. You're not this body, you're not this body, you're not this body. And we sometimes think we know we're not this body. It's a big illusion. We don't know we're not this body. So, but as soon as at least little reflection of this understanding, I'm not this body and I'm not this mind, I'm not so important, when it comes to us, then the 10th offense is not there anymore. And that's basically what we're supposed to do. This is what sadhana means. Again, sadhana means the particular practice with the goal to experience bhava. But bhava, emotions, will only be experienced if we do it properly. And that means Trinadapi Sunichinat Hararapi Sahishnuna, when we chant with this feelings in mind. And in particular, I still wanted, if you allow me, to say a few words, because my time is over. But if you allow me, I still want to say a few words about the emotions which are there in this verse, which Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing, and which Srila Rupa Goswami is explaining in the verse which is to come. The verse which will be quoted a little later, a few verses after that, by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So, basically, what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing during Ratha Yatra, this is what is called Samriddhiman Sambhog. Samriddhiman Sambhog is the highest experience which is there. In Rupa Goswami Ujjvala Nilamani, it is explained that there are 4 types of sambhog, or 4 types of meetings. One meeting is called Sankshipta Sambhog. Sankshipta Sambhog means very brief meeting. Another one is Sankirna Sambhog. Sankirna Sambhog means very uneasy sort of meeting, when the feelings are restrained. And then he says, Then there is Sampanda Sambhog, the meetings which is enriched, when the feelings are fully blossomed. But then he says that the highest experience of meeting between the loved and his beloved, between two lovers, is Samriddhiman Sambhog. So, in particularly during this Ratha Yatra pastime, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again repeats this verse in front of Lord Jagannatha, Yah Kumara Harach Saeva Hivaras Taeva Chaitrakshāpas Te Chom Militamalati Surabhya Praudach Kadamba Nilai Sachaivasmi Tathapi Tatra Surata Vyapara Lila Vidho Reva Roda Siveta Sitarutade Chetach Samutkantate. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again chants this verse, he experiencing the highest possible experience of love, which is called Samriddhiman Sambhog. Samriddhiman Sambhog means perfect meeting, which is only possible after the long separation. Bharata Muni in his Natya Shastra, he explains Navi Navi Pralambina Sambhogam Pushtimashnute. Without vipralamba, without separation, sambhog, the meeting, cannot be nourished. The experience of meeting is not deep enough when there is no separation. Srila Bharata Muni, he gives an example. You know, some people, they don't understand this. Most people from other sampradayas, like Nimbarka Sampradaya of others, they say about Nitya Vihar. If you go to Vrindavan, the people, they say that our goal is Nitya Vihar. Nitya Vihar means eternal meeting with God, eternal enjoyment with God. Our goal is separation with God, as longer as possible. Because only if you experience this separation in real sense of the word, if you experience separation really, then the meeting can take place, and the experience of meeting will take place. And Bharata Muni, he gives an example. He says, if you put white clothes in a dye, then the white clothes may take some color from this dye, but this color will not be so intense. But if you take this white clothes from the dye and dry it up, and then put it again in the dye, and again dry it up, and then put it again, then the color will become more and more intense every time you put it. It's the same dye, but due to the process of this separation, so to speak, the intensity of color will become more and more and more. This is the way, or this is the mechanism, this is the process by which sambhogam pushtimashnute. Without separation, sambhoga, the meeting, cannot become enriched. And samriddhiman sambhog is sambhog when the meeting which you experience after long separation. There's 4 types of meetings which are described by Srila Rupa Goswami. First is Sankship Sambhog. This is after Purvarak. Purvarak means the feeling when we heard about somebody, and when we saw somebody and we fell in love with somebody. And then there is the first meeting. The first meeting is very pleasurable, but it's very uneasy. There is a lot of embarrassment. You know, the boy and girl, for the first time, they had love for some time in the separation, and then they meet each other, one to one, and they will feel very uneasy. So this first meeting it's pleasurable, but it's very brief. And then there is this, after this Purvarak, there's Man. Man means there's some loving anger. And it's Sankirna. Sankirna means still this feeling of something is wrong is still there during the meeting. You come together, yes, you come in terms with each other, but still there is, this meeting is somewhat congested, so to speak. Sankirna means the feelings are somewhat, then after some separation which is not connected with this, if you come together, if it's not for a long time, then sampanna, it's enriched. But if it's for a long time, and that's exactly what is being described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this pastime. This is the meeting of gopis with Krishna in Kurukshetra. The gopis, they were cursing Lord Brahma, Pakshma Krit, because he created this Pakshma. Pakshma means the eyelids. When they saw Krishna, even the split second of separation was intolerable for them. So, can you imagine? No, you cannot imagine. Nobody can imagine what they felt after years and years of separation. It's impossible to even start imagining this. Can you imagine what they felt when they met with Krishna after years and years of separation? It's not possible to imagine, but it's possible to a certain extent to reflect these feelings. If we're humble enough and if we read about this, then the reflection of these feelings on its own will come to our heart. That's the process. The process of experiencing it is to read about this and or to tell about this, and somehow or other, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is experiencing this, these feelings or the glimpse of these feelings, the very little reflection can somehow or other come to our heart and illuminate our heart, our dull and completely dark heart with all these feelings. So, what I want to say is that, this is something really crucial. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he starts explaining this Madhya-lila from the very essence of what Madhya-lila is. Madhya-lila means this meeting which is similar to the meetings of the inhabitants of Vrindavan and Kurukshetra after so many years, which is, in one sense, is the pinnacle of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, of the whole 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The pinnacle of all the pastimes which are there is in this chapter, closer to the end of the 10th chapter, of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and that's exactly why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and started living in Jagannath Puri. He didn't, initially when he took sannyas, he wanted to live in Vrindavan. He wanted to go to Vrindavan. But no, Vrindavan, he didn't want to be in Vrindavan, in reality. He went to Vrindavan, he stayed in Vrindavan for, short 2 weeks only. Not even the whole month. Less than a month he was there in Vrindavan. The rest of the time he was in Jagannath Puri. Why? Because, again, his purpose is to experience the highest summit of emotions, which is possible during long separation and during meeting, which is taking place after long separation. And that's Jagannath Puri, that's Lord Jagannath, who is Mahabhav Prakash. Lord Jagannath himself is Krishna, who is experiencing this emotion, and he takes very strange forms. This is Lord Jagannath. Sometimes some foolish people say, why Lord Jagannath has such strange form? Because Krishna was burned and his body didn't burn enough, so there was only a trunk of his body. And this trunk of the body was thrown in the ocean, and from Dwaraka it came to Puri and became Lord Jagannath. That's some of the explanation. But our explanation, Lord Jagannath is Krishna in separation with Radha, with the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Therefore he's so strange. he is inside experiencing this, and Lord Chaitanya came to Jagannath Puri to experience Radha Bhava duty Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. Krishna Swarup, Krishna himself came to Jagannath Puri to experience the counterpart feelings. Krishna in Jagannath Puri is experiencing separation from the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to experience the feelings of inhabitants of Vrindavan in separation with Krishna. And then during Ratha Yatra they would meet. And what will happen there, nobody can understand unless you're very humble, unless your heart is very clean. But if your heart is clean, if you're fortunate enough, then some of these feelings will be reflected in your heart. And that's what we are supposed to do when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm really sorry for this long class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I don't know if I have time for questions or not. Yes, brother.
I was thinking about one thing to ask long time, but this lecture seems like a perfect place. I do have a problem to understand what's hard. Because you know that the soul is in the heart, and sometimes we hear that the mind is also in the heart, and Krishna is also in the heart. But we can also understand from some comments of Srila Prabhupada that the heart is not actually this pump, which is pumping the blood around. So is mind and heart maybe kind of synonyms? Because you are mentioning a few times that the feelings which they attack our mind, and where we make place, then it's heart.
Anyatra Hridayaman Moraman Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya was chanting this verse during Ratha Yatra. Anyatra Hridayaman. For other people, the mind and heart is the same. So, yes, when we say mind and heart, it's more or less synonyms. And the heart, when we call mind as a heart, we mean to say that the mind is the seat of emotions. Because sometimes, when we say mind, we may have this understanding that this is the place where intellectual processes are going on. When we say about the heart, we mean to say that the mind as an emotional adhishtan, as the seat of emotions. So it's basically the same. Sometimes it's called chitta. Chitta means subconscious mind, because all the intellectual processes are taking place in the conscious mind. But there is a deeper dimension of the mind, which is subconscious mind. And the conscious mind is just the tip of an iceberg. The most of our mind, of our consciousness, is underneath. It's beyond even our reach. So emotions are take place there in subconscious mind. Therefore, it's so difficult to deal with them. Therefore, it's so difficult to purify these emotions. But when we speak about the mind, usually what is meant is this place where the subconscious emotions are originating and overwhelming our conscious mind.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the very wonderful class. You were speaking about how when we have expectations and they're not in line with reality, it causes stress. Mm-hmm. And naturally one would think that means to tolerate the situation. Mm-hmm. I know this is going to be a very complex question and the answer might be very simple, but I was hoping if you could explain the principle as to when a situation should be tolerated and when one should take action to rectify the situation.
Well, that means intelligence. If you have intelligence, you understand what you should tolerate, what you shouldn't tolerate. That basically means wisdom. Usually people, they don't have this discriminating power, and sometimes they waste their energy with, fighting with somebody which is inevitable, and sometimes they don't even try to improve something which they can improve. So there is no set in stone formula by which you can discriminate. It's just basically your ability to discriminate between one and another. For that, you have to be in tune more or less with at least with Paramatma in your heart. This whole process which I was trying to explain is, and the whole process of bhakti is how to come in tune with God. It's what is happening in his heart. So, and Krishna himself says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. I am giving the intelligence. So where this discrimination is coming from, it's coming from God. Why? Through which process Tesham satata yuktanam, if we are constantly engaged, if we are always engaged with priti purvakam, if we're engaged with love in the service, then we will understand. This is the situation where we just have to say, okay, that's fine. Krishna, I'm yours. I surrender to you whatever you want. Do with me. And in another situation you say, okay, I know, Krishna, you're testing me. I will, I will fight with this situation. So ultimately, this is the process.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sorry, I might have missed the point, but you know when you mentioned about that Rasa Bhasa verse, about forcibly taking away the innocence. So what was Mahaprabhu trying to convey through that verse in terms of his purpose?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to convey the parakiya feelings of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. He was trying to convey the feelings of Srimati Radharani, who was basically, it will be explained in the later verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, but his meaning was that, I am the same Radha, you are the same Krishna, the same happiness of meeting is there. I do feel joy of meeting after a long time, but still something is wrong. Why something is wrong? Because we are not in Vrindavan, because we are still constrained. The freedom of our meeting is not there. All this, horses and elephants, and you are in a royal dress, and basically he wants to say that when Radha saw Krishna, she was not very impressed. After a long time, she saw him in a royal attire with all these jewels and everything, and she said, no, something is wrong, I don't know who dressed you today. It's not a very good dress. I liked your other style better. So the meaning which he wanted to convey is that, even though you are the same and I'm the same and our meeting is the same and our love is the same or even stronger, because after such a long time still something is wrong. Let's go to Vrindavan. Let's go to Vrindavan. That's the amazing emotions which are there, which we, if we are lucky, we may experience it sometime. Maybe the last moment of our life, if we are lucky. Because these feelings, the heart is not capable of containing these feelings. But theoretically we can explain this.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your really inspirational class. I just had one question. You speak about humility, and it's through that humility that the bhava of sadhana comes about. My question is, does humility come as a byproduct of the sadhana, or is it something that needs to be actively cultivated in addition?
It's both. Humility is a byproduct of sadhana, there is no doubt about it. But if we perform sadhana, it comes as a byproduct of sadhana if we perform sadhana in a proper frame of mind. So it is explained by Srila Sanatana Goswami in Brihad Bhagavatamrita. He says that he speaks in particular about humility and love. He says that humility is the cause of love, and love is the cause of more humility. So the same is applicable to this sort of situation. The sadhana is the cause of humility, and humility is the cause of sadhana. So they both serve as the cause and effect for each other. You cannot really properly execute sadhana if you don't adopt the humble state of mind. And when you adopt the humble state of mind, and in this state of mind you chant Hare Krishna, then the genuine humility will come. So the both are there. They both are cause and effect of each other. Okay.
When you were explaining about the reflections in the heart, we have certain positive emotions in the heart as well. At times, like compassion or charity or similar.
Yeah.
Is that some reflection, or is just our own?
No, there is positive material emotions which are purifying. Therefore, in scriptures it is said that certain things which evoke these emotions are beneficial. Therefore serving others, compassion to others, it's all very beneficial emotions which purify the heart. There are emotions which contaminate the heart and they are counterproductive. And there are emotions, even material emotions, which are purifying. Therefore, we have to be in the association of people who experience the similar emotions so that all our positive emotions will also be reinforced, and in this way the heart will be purified. So it's like this: we have negative emotions, we have elevated material emotions, then we have 0 point humility, and then we have the realm of spiritual emotions. So, and the way from negative emotions to spiritual emotions goes through the positive emotions, material emotions. So this is the road towards the spiritual emotions. Before experiencing real, genuine spiritual emotions, you definitely have to purify your heart, and the heart will be prone to experience and to feel these positive emotions, material emotions. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.